The sign and graphic display industry can be a competitive place to do business. There are many things that can be done to ensure the service you offer stands out above the rest. Eye-catching and fresh designs, competitive pricing, and a reliable service, to name a few. Once you have a set of images to show a prospective customer, it's important to present them in the best way possible to ensure your artwork and service will stand out against the competition. SignLab has a whole range of tools to help you produce stunning professional visuals for your clients, and in this tutorial I will show you some of those functions and how simple they are to use. I have finished my design for a new coffee shop, so the obvious next stage would be to present this design to my customer for his approval. I could do this by printing my design onto paper, probably at A4 size, or by email. Whichever way my customer receives his design, I want to make sure it's presented with as much information as possible. After all, a design that's just plonked in the middle of an A4 sheet or on a computer screen will not explain the size, dimensions and materials to be used on the job. To add that professional touch to my visuals, I will use SignLab's Dimensions and Notes tools. First I will select all the objects on screen and then group them together by going to the Layout menu and selecting Group. Okay, now I will add some of the dimensions to the sign, so with it selected I go to the measuring tools here on the left and select the third tool in Object Dimension. Like most of the tools in SignLab, my options for these functions are now displayed in the top of the screen in the taskbar. There are several options here that can be changed and adjusted to suit your personal preference. Here I can change the style of the lines to be used on the dimensions, and here the type of arrowheads. I want to display the overall width and height of my signage, so I must select the numeric option from this drop down. Next I need to select the unit of measurement to be used. I personally like to work in millimeters, but as you will see from this drop down, there are several options to choose from. It's also possible to adjust the level of precision at which the dimensions are displayed. This may need changing for any awkward or unusual signage, but generally I would leave this on the lowest level. I will need to define the font that my measurements are displayed in, and the size of that font. When considering a font size, it's important to make an account of the actual size of the object that you're adding dimensions to. My sign is 3 meters wide, so I will need to use a relatively large font size to ensure the dimensions are clearly visible on my finished visual. For this example, 150 should do it. As you will see, the font to be used can be changed here to suit your preference. I'm happy with the settings I have made here, so I will now click OK. Okay, with my properties set up, it's now simply a case of adding the dimensions. To do this, I'm going to move my cursor over the middle nub of my object. When I do this, you will notice a double-headed arrow symbol appears on screen at the point my cursor is placed. Hovering the mouse in this position, I simply left-click and drag the symbol away from my object. Now when I release the mouse button, my object dimensions are displayed above. I will now need only repeat these steps to display the object height. So with my signage dimensions added, the visual already looks far more professional, and to improve this further I will now add some notes about the colours and materials to be used on the finished job. Once again I'm returning to the measuring tools, but this time I will be using the arrow draw function. The first part I want to provide information on is the outer frame to be used, so I will click on this part and then drag a line to the area I would like to add the notes, and then left click the mouse once again. Once I have done this, you'll notice that a dialog box appears in the taskbar, enabling me to enter my description of the frame. Like the Dimensions tool, I have the opportunity to change the font style and size to be used. I am happy with these settings, so I'm going to go ahead and type some notes in the dialog box. As I do this, you'll notice the text starts to appear on screen. This text that is now on screen can be moved and sized like any other object in SignLab. If I double click on the text, it will open up the arrow draw editing functions in the taskbar, allowing me to change the font size and style, and even add to the sentence. It's possible to add as many notes to the visual as you feel are necessary. If the customer has asked for a specific Pantone colour to be used in the job, or requested a vinyl with a certain life expectancy, it's a good idea to add notes here to enable your client to feel confident you have understood their instructions. Okay, I've finished adding notes to this visual, so I will now save the finished results. You don't need to worry about removing these dimensions and notes when you come to produce your sign. SignLab will automatically disregard them when you send the job to either a cutter or a digital printer. I'm sure you will agree that adding dimensions and notes gives a real professional feel to even the most basic signage design. And to complement my presentation even further, I'm going to design a company template to present my finished visuals on. If you have never used the templates functions in SignLab, then take a look at the next step of this tutorial to learn how easy they are to create. Essentially, a template is a presentation page that you can create to add a more professional touch to your visuals. When creating a template, it's possible to add as many different text fields as you require. The text fields used on a template will contain specific data, such as a date and time a job was created or the customer it's for. Once I've created a template, it can be used again and again for all my future visuals. Okay, so I'm going to start to define my template using a series of different size rectangles. As most of the visuals I print are A4, I will start with that size for my main panel. Within this first panel, I'm going to create a series of smaller boxes, and each one of them will represent a text field. It's important at this stage to work out how many different fields you will want to add to your template so you can envisage how and where they will fit on the page. So I've now defined my basic template layout, and the next stage will be to save my work. I'm going to call the file template. Okay, I can now start to add some of the text to the design. I will have several individual fields to my template, and the first of those will be the date. So in this box I'm going to go ahead and type the word date in my chosen font. Okay, the next field will have the name of the person who designed the artwork. So in this box I will type the word designed by. Okay, so with the basic principle explained here, I will move on and finish filling out the remainder of my boxes with my chosen text entries. The final boxes I filled in now contain a field for the customer's name and a field for the approval of the artwork. There are also other fields enabling me to specify a job number and file name. Another field here details any colour specifications for the job. And finally, over here I have added my company logo and contact details. With all of these elements complete, I can now go ahead and complete the template, so that when the file is opened, SignLab will automatically prompt me for the information in each specific field. If you are unsure of any of the details I've explained so far, then watch on as all will become clear in these next stages. My first task is to select the text called date. Now I go to the layout menu, down to templates, set template, and then date. Having done this, the date will automatically be placed here when the template is opened. I can now set the other text fields in the template in the same way. So with my next text field selected, I return to the layout menu and templates, set template, and select text. All I will need to do now is repeat these steps for each of the text fields contained in my template. When my template is opened in the future, SignLab will prompt me to type in the relevant data in these individual fields prior to loading the template on screen. Okay, so I'm now just setting up the last of my text fields, and with that done I can now save the entire job in the regular way. So with the creation of my template complete, I will demonstrate how easy it is to use. First thing I'm going to do is get a new page, so I'm just going to go to the File menu and select New. Okay, with a new page I will now go File, Open, and select template.cdl that we saved before. What I will now get is a series of prompts for each of the text fields I defined when I created the template, and all I need do is fill in those fields to my requirements. When I have entered text in the dialog box, I need only click OK to move on to the next field. When I have finished entering text in all the categories, my template will be placed on screen and you will see the entries I've just made in place. Okay, so with all the fields complete, my template is finished and ready to use. All of the details specific to my current design have been entered, so I will now move on and place my design on the template. I need to open up the design I created earlier, but I also need to keep my template on screen, so I will use the File Import command rather than File Open. Okay, now I have the file on screen, I can place it on my template, but if I were to reduce it in size, the dimensions on the visual would actually change on the drawing. So what I need to do is scale my template up to meet the size of the original design. My aromatherapy design is just under 3.3 meters in width, so with the proportional scaling locked, I'm going to scale my template up to 3.5 meters wide. Don't worry about the size of this template. When I come to print it out, I will use the Fit to Printer function, which will scale the entire job down for output, but still retain all of the proportions and dimensions on the visual. So with my template scaled up, I can now move my finished design into place to complete the process. I have now created a professional first-class visual representation of the signage I intend to supply for my customer. This job can now be sent to my desktop printer in the regular way. Of course, in many cases today, artwork can be emailed to the customer. Synap has some powerful tools to help you do this, and you can find more details on how to use them in a separate tutorial. With my finished visual printed and ready to present to my customer, I'm sure you'll agree that given the choice between this and this, the Synap created visual will win the job every time.